In this video, we want to introduce you to a country that's a true paradise for the lawless. A place where not even the police will help you, and where the law of the strongest is the only rule that still matters. What sounds like something straight out of a post-apocalyptic movie is pure reality in Venezuela, arguably the last country on Earth without rules. Before we dive deep into the hotspots of chaos, let's first clarify what without laws actually means in Venezuela. On paper, Venezuela is a republic, but reality looks completely different. The state has almost entirely lost its function. Venezuela suffers from one of the worst hyperinflations in modern history. The bolivar, the official currency, is practically worthless. People literally need wheelbarrows full of bills just to buy a few groceries, and even getting those requires luck, because store shelves are constantly empty and basic goods are missing everywhere. Salaries become almost worthless even before they can be spent.
I mean, how long will it take the average person around here to buy that bottle of water?
Una semana.
The result is an economy that now relies almost entirely on the US dollar, which is traded on the black market. In short, if you don't have dollars, you have nothing. Like this mother, for example, who, like many others, has to search through street garbage to find food for her family.
The only thing I want is to wake up one day and realize this nightmare is over, that neither I nor anyone else has to eat from the trash.
On top of that, the state is completely corrupt. Almost every police officer, soldier, or official can be bribed. On the Global Corruption Index, only Somalia and South Sudan rank worse. So if you need to get anything done at a government office, you have to bring a bribe. Even if you've been robbed and want to report it, you have to pay the police just to have a chance that they'll start investigating. In reality, the rule of law, which Venezuela is supposed to be in theory, is just a facade. And laws only apply to those who don't have enough money to get around them. This in turn has led to what is now essentially a state within a state. In Venezuela, control lies mainly with the colectivos, paramilitary groups that officially claim to defend the revolution, but in truth control entire neighborhoods. And of course, with huge criminal gangs, the so-called mega bandas, who enforce their own laws with heavy weapons. Now that you have a rough idea of how miserable life conditions are for Venezuela's citizens, let's dive right into the chaotic daily reality. Nowhere is the chaos more evident than in the capital, Caracas. Once a vibrant metropolis, Caracas is now considered one of the most dangerous cities in the world. Everyday life there is a constant struggle for survival, and armed robberies in broad daylight are an everyday occurrence. In fact, even drivers keep their car windows closed at all times, no matter how hot it is, out of fear of being attacked at traffic lights. And that fear is justified. Caracas sees about 120 murders per 100,000 inhabitants each year.
The thing that's incredible here is just how little of a thing this is to people passing by. There's just numerous people walking past. There's a body lying in the middle of the street, and there isn't even a crowd. It's just part of daily life for Caracas.
But the true face of chaos can be seen in the barrios, the vast slums that climb up the hillsides of Caracas. In places like Petare or El Valle, millions of people live crammed together. Entering these neighborhoods feels like stepping into another world. The sight of the makeshift, illegally built shacks squeezed along narrow streets is already shocking enough. On top of that, garbage is scattered everywhere, and you have to watch your step to avoid accidentally falling into one of the countless open sewage ditches. Even worse, of course, is that the barrios are completely ruled by criminal gangs. All day long, young men patrol the streets, often armed with assault rifles. They control the drug trade, extort protection money, and enforce their own brutal version of justice. If there's a dispute in the barrios, people don't go to the police. They go to the gang leader, and whatever he says is law. When the police do enter the slums, which is rare, they only use heavily armored vehicles. These cases often ends in full-blown street battles. As you can probably imagine, most residents of Caracas are simply fighting to survive under these conditions. And it's only natural that moral boundaries blur in such desperation. The economic hardship drives countless women, and even underage girls, into prostitution, while many men turn to drug or weapons trafficking to earn the vital dollars needed to feed their families.
I don't feel very good about this work, she says, because you have to cope with a lot of horrible stuff, and I don't sleep very well. But I have children and a family, and I have to deal with it.
This lawlessness and hopelessness is devastating for Venezuelans. On the other hand, it is ideal for Colombian cartels and guerrilla groups. That's why they use the country as a transit route and a safe haven. As a result, Venezuela has become a massive hub for drug trafficking, and open drug use is widespread everywhere. The situation is also truly dire on Margarita Island, an island located in the sea just off Venezuela's mainland, which is part of the country. Once, Margarita Island was a genuine tourist paradise, famous for its dreamlike beaches and duty-free shops. But today, the island has become a symbol of Venezuela's total collapse of law and order. It's now a hotspot for drug smuggling, international arms trafficking, and rampant sex tourism, especially in places like Porlamar or Juan Griego. International criminal organizations, such as the so-called Russian mafia, use it as a base and can freely conduct their business there, thanks to the total absence of state control. In fact, there's also a huge party scene there, and of course, it too benefits from the lack of regulation. In plain terms, you can party there without any limits and consume whatever you like. But since only the law of the strongest applies, a night of partying can easily end in disaster. Many people who get there just to escape harsh reality for one night end up paying with their lives. Although, on average, 19 people are killed every single day. In Venezuela, the clearance rate for such violent crimes is under 10%. Compared to 98% in most European countries. And even if offenders are caught, they can usually just buy their freedom thanks to the rampant corruption. Now that you've gotten a glimpse into the chaos in Venezuela, you might think that all citizens suffer under these conditions, but that's actually a misconception. There's also a small but extremely wealthy elite living in a completely different reality. The rich in Venezuela live on luxurious estates behind high walls, topped with barbed wire, and employ private security forces better armed than the local police. They drive through the city in armored luxury limousines, fly by private jet to go shopping in Miami, and relax in exclusive golf clubs. Unlike most Venezuelans, these super rich actually benefit from the chaos and lawlessness in the country. Their wealth often comes from corrupt deals with the government, the oil sector, or outright illegal activities. In the end, they're the winners of the system, exploiting the chaos to enrich themselves. You might now be wondering how the country ended up in this situation, so let's briefly look at the causes. They're complex, but here's a short summary of the key points. For decades, Venezuela was one of South America's richest countries thanks to its massive oil reserves. But this dependency on oil became a trap. Mismanagement, massive corruption, and the socialist policies of Hugo Chavez and his successor Nicolas Maduro destroyed the economy. Companies were nationalized and run into the ground. Agricultural production collapsed, and when oil prices eventually dropped, the entire system collapsed with it, leading to the conditions we see today. After showing you all the dark sides of the last country without rules, we shouldn't forget that Venezuela is not only chaos, it's also a land of breathtaking natural beauty. From the world's highest waterfall, the Angel Falls, to the mystical Table Mountains and the paradise-like beaches, there are truly beautiful places there. And we must also remember that Venezuelans have a rich culture and warm hospitality. Despite the country's dire circumstances, they try to make the best of their situation, and they continue to hope for a better future. Write us in the comments your opinion of the current situation in Venezuela and how you think the future could be. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe. Bye. See you next time.